This girl never could have imagined it. The young lord of the demon clan, who stood at the very top of the supernatural world, had countless remarkable women at his fingertips, yet he chose her, a girl who'd been thrown out by her own parents, as his bride. In this world, being chosen by a demon meant your entire family's status would skyrocket overnight, so becoming a demon's bride was the ultimate dream every human girl secretly harbored. At first, Sophia couldn't bring herself to believe that a love like this could fall from the sky and land on someone like her, but then the young demon lord, Leo, brought her home and announced in front of all the servants, "This is my bride." In an instant, the entire estate kicked into high gear. Servants rushed forward, each eager to be the one to wait on the bride personally. The moment they stepped inside, Leo swept Sophia off her feet from behind, holding her in his arms, which made her squirm with embarrassment. She told him she was perfectly capable of walking on her own, but Leo just smiled gently and told her to relax. And for Sophia, this was the first time in her 18 years of life that anyone had ever treated her like she was something precious. Once she was settled in, Leo asked her how she'd ended up with such severe burns. His genuine concern made her drop her guard, and she finally let out everything she'd been holding inside. Ever since her younger sister Emma had been chosen as the bride of a fox demon, the whole family had revolved entirely around Emma. When she thought about all the ways she'd been treated unfairly, the words just got stuck in her throat. Leo listened quietly until she'd said everything she needed to say. Then he took away the birthday gift her sister had torn apart and gently told Sophia to get some rest for the night. But when Sophia went to her room, the maidservant suddenly began undressing her. It turned out this was how things were done in great households, the changing service. The maid beamed with joy, declaring that attending to the bride was the greatest honor she could ask for. As it happened, the demon clan stood above all others in the supernatural hierarchy, and Leo was next in line to lead the Kiriwin family, a name that commanded the highest respect. Even this maidservant was only a member of a branch family. The privilege of serving the bride was something she'd won through fierce competition among the household staff. The sheer gap in their status kept Sophia tossing and turning that night. She couldn't stop wondering, would someone as distinguished as Leo truly fall for someone as ordinary as her? What she didn't know was that as she finally drifted off to sleep in the middle of the night, Leo leaned close and whispered a promise in her ear that he would pour everything he had into loving her. There was a time when Leo didn't believe in the idea of a destined bride. The people who gravitated toward him were only drawn to his power. Demon women, at least, had enough self-awareness to understand the enormous gap between them and him. Human women, on the other hand, got on his nerves. They were always throwing themselves at him without reading the room. The truth was, if a demon ever truly encountered their fated one, they would recognize her in a single glance, and the children born between a demon and his bride would naturally carry immense spiritual power, bringing prosperity to the entire clan. Before Sophia came along, Leo's fiancée had been one of the most spiritually powerful demons around. He hadn't been opposed to the arrangement. A union between powerful families was simply how dynasties were built. But the moment Sophia appeared, Leo suddenly understood destined brides were real. That very night, he had the engagement officially called off. On top of that, he had already dug into every detail of Sophia's past. Every injustice and hurt she'd endured in her own home, he committed all of it to memory. His first order of business: get Sophia out of that toxic family for good. The next morning, Sophia jolted awake from a dream, half convinced yesterday had all been in her head. But then Leo walked in carrying shopping bags, with a whole new set of dresses picked out just for her, and she realized this was all very, very real. Over breakfast, something suddenly dawned on her. The day Leo had appeared out of nowhere, how had she ended up asking a complete stranger whether he would love her? It was completely out of line. She cringed just thinking about it, and right at that moment, two tiny little creatures appeared in front of her, carrying tea and water.
かわいい。その子たちは？
ゴーニだ。気に入ったか？
These two little things were anything but ordinary. Leo had stayed up all night making them, just to keep Sophia safe. He'd first tried making a giant dragon, then a fierce tiger, but after finishing them he worried they'd scare her. It was one of his attendants who mentioned that human girls tended to like cute little dolls, so he ended up crafting these two baby spirits instead.
ユースを守れるのだ。 合格だ。
On top of that, Leo had also restored Sophia's birthday dress, the one her grandparents had given her, which had been torn back to perfect condition. Not a single trace of damage remained. His thoughtfulness moved Sophia to tears, but as far as Leo was concerned, anything done for his bride was the least he could do. He told her she didn't need to use formal titles with him, just call him by his name. He wanted his one and only bride to call him that. Holding his tearful bride close, Leo's resentment toward Sophia's family burned even deeper, so he couldn't wait to share some good news with her. The night before, he'd told his grandparents about everything Sophia had been through. The two elders had been furious, and on the spot, they'd agreed to Leo's proposal to formally adopt Sophia. He would handle everything financially. Of course, she was also welcome to stay right here if she preferred. But faced with this sudden wave of happiness, Sophia found herself hesitating. She couldn't give Leo an answer this quickly. Leo didn't push, he simply told her to take all the time she needed to think it over. Back in her room to rest, Sophia's phone suddenly buzzed. It was a message from her sister Emma. Emma said she knew Sophia had run away from home and wanted to drop off some clothes for her. Sophia assumed it was a gesture of goodwill, so she left her phone with the baby spirits, who were busy watching cartoons and quietly sleeping slipped out to the meeting spot, but the moment they came face to face, Sophia's last shred of hope evaporated. Emma's first words were pure mockery. She sneered that not a single person was worried about Sophia running away, that there was no place for her in that house anymore, and that she needed to know her place. Then, just as she was about to hand over the clothes, she let them slip right into the river.
マロ、手が滑っちゃった。
On the way back, Emma was still gloating to herself, but her fiancé, the fox demon, sensed something was off. The aura around Sophia was completely different from before, though he couldn't quite put his finger on what had changed. Meanwhile, Sophia waded into the river and pulled out the soaking wet clothes. She'd still been holding onto a small flicker of hope, but now, it was gone. She trudged back to the Kiryuin estate, clutching the drenched dress, feeling utterly hollow. Leo came out to meet her and knew in an instant that something was wrong. He pulled her into his arms without a word.
早く家に入ろう。温めないと。
暖かい。私、ここにいてもいいのかな。